Hey y'all, welcome to the Marty Smith Podcast here at Outsider Studios. It's the first episode ever in this studio, and man, is it a good one. I had the great opportunity to welcome my great friend Cole Swindell here to have a lengthy conversation about a very unique path to country music stardom. How does a guy go from meeting a country music star at his frat house to selling t-shirts for that superstar, Bryan, to writing #1 songs, not only for other artists in this town, but for himself? And what's it like to stick to your guns when one of those superstars, Aldean, desperately begs you for a song that you wrote, but you know you're the one that should cut it? Very unique path. And not only that, as many of you know, Cole lost his father unexpectedly and tragically, and that's one way he and I bonded. We both lost our dads way too soon. It's a very relatable conversation that you will get much out of. Here's Cole Swindell from Outsider Studios on the Marty Smith Podcast. We have been so fortunate to chat with so many amazing country music stars over the first 9 episodes of our podcast here at Outsider. But this is the very first Marty Smith podcast at Outsider Studios, and you, sir, are my first guest, Cole Swindell.
I didn't even know that, man. That's amazing. I love it. I
Isn't
would
it
not
cool?
know that. I know. I can't believe that it's the first one, man. It looks great in here, brother.
Saw it for the first time all of 8 minutes ago. So we're so blessed to have this space to chat with people and
this is gonna be
spend
awesome.
some time. And I appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely, brother.
With how busy you are, but we're going to start with. I always want to give space in these conversations with people to have fun and discuss your path and all that. But one thing that has been so important to me with this platform is being a place where people can come and be inspired and come and find kindness and come and find relatable content that makes them look inside themselves in ways maybe they aren't willing to do themselves. And you've written a couple songs that you and I have, because the reason we're friends, really.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons we're friends, and we're going to just jump right into that.
Absolutely.
Right into that pond. We both lost our dads way too early. And we're both still grappling with what that is.
Yeah.
It's been 2008 was mine, and when did Dad die?
2013.
13, right. That's what I thought. Okay. So how have you been able to use your work as a vehicle to in some way learn your hurt, purge your hurt, and share it with the world so that they might have something to hold on to?
Yeah, I think I always say, I moved to Nashville to write songs, and I always say country music's always been there for me, before I ever got to this town. And, the fact that I've now written at least one I know that has touched people and helped them through a tough time. At the time we were writing it, of course, I had my dad in mind, but I knew already that I can't be the only one out there, And then also we wanted to make it relatable to where, anybody could relate to it that has been through that. And I know me and you, it's crazy. Me and you, Dale Jr., there's been so many people that have reached out and I've got in contact with because of that song. And I always say my dad, for those that didn't get to meet him, if he would have known that he could check out a little early and it would inspire a song that would help, way more people than he would ever get to meet, he would have done that. That was the kind of guy he was. And for me to know that, I'm on the other side of that now, songs have always been there for me, and that now that I've got to share my story, through my music is just, it's a blessing, because it was scary to put that out there in the world, but the response, I don't think people know by sharing their stories like yours, what that means to me, and lets me know that I'm not alone in this. I'm part of a club I wish I wasn't a part of, but it is one, and I think we go through things, honestly, because somebody else we know is going to go through them, and you're going to need to be there for them.
It's amazing what vulnerability does, and it's terrifying. You're so right. And it's funny, one of your peers here in town's a friend of mine as well, and I remember being with him the night before he was putting out a new record, and he was pacing all over the bus, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? And he goes, man, that record's coming out tomorrow. I'm worried about it. And I said, the work's great. why are you worried about this? Why are you anxious? And he said just that. It's so vulnerable. And when you offer that energy to the world, you have to be okay with whatever energy comes back to you, no matter what it is, because it's real. Absolutely. And that is terrifying. Yeah,
that is. And that, to me, I always say, I mean, since that song was released and it hit radio, there hasn't been one show I've played that somebody, at least, didn't share their story. And like I said, that's what, as scary as it was at the time, I mean, I know that song has helped me just as much as it helped anyone else, because I got to, hear their stories. And it also makes you appreciative of the time you did have with them, because you think your story's bad, then you hear, one every day that's 10 times worse. And it's just, to have that moment in my show every night to where I don't know who they're thinking about, but I look at them, I wonder who those tears are for, because I know, who I'm thinking of. And it's just, it's a special moment in the show.
How long did it take you to be able to get through it?
Luckily, I've been able to get through it somehow. I mean, I think just I don't know if it's, I try to block it out or what, but I just know people are like, how do you get through that some nights? And I think when we're playing on special dates or his birthday or something like that, it gets a little tougher, but it really is because of the people in the crowd. I need music as well, but you can just tell, I got to get through this for them, and they're out there for me, and that's just a cool thing about country music in general, and the fans, and just knowing that the kids out there too. I was that kid, and to know that something that I've been through and can share has helped other people. That's the best feeling for a guy like me in the world.
I do a ton of self-analysis, wondering if I'm making him proud.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you with that?
Yeah, I think. That's always on my mind. I hope, and you have people telling you, your family and your friends, they're like, he would be. That's one of the biggest compliments I think we get is your dad would be so proud, and that is, he did get to see me get my record deal, and knew that that I had followed a dream, and it happened, and he, so I can at least say that he knew I was happy, he was happy, and I know I always say that he's got the best seat in the house. He's, I think we just look for things around us. They're there all the time. I think little things. It's like I bet that was him.
We can move on in a minute, but
yeah.
Why are you emotional? You're emotional right now. I can see it in your eyes right now.
Just I don't know, knowing that I get to live out a dream that he's the first person I ever heard play a guitar. He never chased music as hard as I did, but he never pushed me to do it. It's something that later in life, in college, I just found my calling and never found anything that I love like music. And for me, I don't know, I know he's proud, and I know that I get to do that and help other people, and he'd be more proud about that than he would be the music, I think.
Well, I'll add to that chorus.
Yep.
He would be so proud of what you're doing, how you're doing it, the man you are. It says so much to people that you surround yourself with, and I know a lot of your buddies.
Yep.
And so you should be really, really proud of that.
Well, likewise, brother. And like I said, just the way we love both, sports, music. I mean, he was a huge sports fan, and just that, I guess, just sitting here, it's pretty cool. So thanks for having me.
So you were noting a moment ago the power of music and the inspiration. You didn't have it for a long time with this pandemic.
Yep.
How did you do mentally and emotionally without that every night?
I think just looking back over it, you kind of just rolled with it, but it was kind of a roller coaster. I think at first it was just, I didn't really know what to think. I thought it'd be a month or so and we'd be back to work, and then it just kept going, and I think then it kind of got to where I was mad about, like, are we ever going to get back to work? And I think it was just ups and downs, and I didn't realize, I knew how much I missed being out there and doing what I love, because I've gotten to do that the past 8 or 9 years, and never had a break this long. But I don't think I knew what it would do, mentally, and just not having those fans and being in front of that crowd and getting that adrenaline rush, and just stuff that now that we've been able to have a few shows, we're not back in full swing, but we've had a few in front of crowds, and it's just, there's hope. It's like, man, we're going to get back to this. It's going to happen. And to me, I just think, having some time to reflect on everything, that we try not to take things for granted in life. We all do, but it's just human nature, I think, and it sucks sometimes that we have to get something taken away or something bad to happen to wake everybody up and realize. But I think, we all feel like that. If what we got is to appreciate things a little more out of this past year and a half, I think we'll all be, better off in some way. But I also know how how tough it was, no matter what profession you're in. I mean, it's been a crazy time, and I think I'd be lying if it said it didn't mess with me a little bit. But now getting back to work, being around the band, and it's not just, you know, the show on stage, it's the hang and everything, you know.
So you said it so well right there, the perspective that comes with not having something that you had so often, right? What perspective did it give you that you actually have the opportunity to do this for a living that you didn't have before?
You know, just that, like you just said, I mean, anything, no matter what it is, it may not be how you're thinking it, but anything can be taken away from you. And I think you know that, but it's kind of, you put it in the back of your mind. But when it's shown to you for a year and a half, I mean, it's, to me, we were talking as a band just how, you know, of course we don't want to take things for granted, but the fact that we ever got used to being able to, you know, be in front of folks like that, I mean, that's a good feeling to, you know, and I don't know that we'll ever get used to that again. That's a better way to put it, because we certainly don't, you know, take it lightly that we get to do what we love for a living. That's something, the best thing I can say about what we get to do, but it's to see those fans back out there. I mean, I didn't realize how much I needed that just to be me, because that's part of me, you know, that's part of my life, and the fact that it got taken away a little bit, and I got a chance to, you know, reconnect with some family and friends, and I feel like this is day one. I knew that first show was going to feel like the first one ever, and it did. It was anxiety, it was everything wrapped into one, man. Yeah, that's a lot of lyrics to remember. So.
Do you have a prompter?
No, I did not, but that's something to look into. I think I was laughing with a buddy a couple weekends ago that we were talking about those, and I was like, why wouldn't we have those? I mean,
for sure,
that's a lot of stuff, you know. But right now, we're just relying on the crowd. We just stick the mic out if I forget a line. Hopefully, they got it.
The fact that you are sitting there saying that it's a lot of lyrics tells you about the amount of songs that you've cut and released that were so successful. When you look at that body of work, I know when you're living it, it's hard to analyze it, right? Because you're in the middle of it. You're in that grind. But you did have a little time to stop. When you look at that body of work, how do you feel about all of this success so far?
I mean, you're right, and the way you said that is so perfect. We get caught up in the what's next, and in the grind, and it's just, but that's part of why we are where we are. But then again, to have this much time to just think about it, instead of being so competitive about this and that, it's like, man, if we just looked at what we had, like what we're thankful for, and I've been trying to do that a little more, and I've had time to do that, but it's, you know, I'm very proud of the work that it took to get here, and I'm glad that I had a minute to just be appreciative and realize that, gosh, I had it good, you know, I still do, and it's just, like I said earlier, it's just, I hate that sometimes it takes something this eye-opening to, you know, bring us back down to reality, but I'm always down for that, a reality check, and this is, I think that's what we all have had, and I think we're going to appreciate each other, our jobs, no matter what that is, and just life in general even more, and that can't be a bad thing, I don't think so.
What was growing up like for you?
You know, just sports, man. That's always been everything. That's all I ever did. I was born in Savannah, Georgia, moved over with my mom when my parents split around 5th grade, and so that's the other side of the state, Southwest Georgia, where I kind of call home, and that's where I went to high school, played every sport they'd let me play, and you know, always loved music, always loved music since being a little kid, my first concert, but I didn't really get into that side of it, singing and stuff, until right when I got to college, senior year of high school kind of, so pretty crazy, man.
Well, why? What was it that made you go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, you know, at the time, I remember getting to college at Georgia Southern and being, you know, undecided my major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had 2 brothers that were they both graduated from there, had good jobs, and it was just, the pressure was on, you know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I started, you know, me and a buddy of mine started playing in the bars there, and music had always been there. You know, I always knew how much it meant to me. I just never realized what it would be like to be on the stage, and I just kind of fell in love.
What was it like?
It was
intoxicating?
I'll never forget yes, I mean, I'll never forget, as a crazy story that ties in with this, but my first show was at a place called Loco's in Statesboro, Georgia, and me and my buddy Burke, the first song we ever played was Kenny Chesney, Don't Happen Twice, and I was nervous I could barely breathe, dude, much less sing.
How many people
and just,
were there?
I mean, maybe 12. That's being generous. It was, and that's awesome. What I mean. And I got to tell that story to Kenny years later down the road.
What did he say?
Just the story.
Did he love it?
Oh yeah. His answer was, we were out on tours the year I toured with Aldean, so we got to do the stadium tour with Kenny that year. And I was like, I got to tell him the story. And I told him, and his response was, oh really? He's like, well, we got to get you up and do it one night. And I'll never forget Seattle. Where they play, where the Seahawks play that night. One night, it wasn't that night. He got me up and I got to sing the song, first song I ever sang, first gig in front of 70, 80, I mean, however many thousands of people in a football stadium. And all I could think about, no joke, was, God, I hope I get to somewhere like Kenny so I can help somebody else like that. I mean, that's what's going through my head at just those moments. And I think, yeah, man, that was the reason I wanted to be on stage, and I fell in love with that, and then later came the writing. So that's, but I fell in love with being on stage first, but I realized all these songs I'm singing, they're cover songs, they're not mine, and I wanted to be, it was people like Eric Church, Dirks, Luke, their first albums, that those are the people, that made me want to write songs. And I think that's, when you're talking about influences, yeah, I grew up on 90s country music, still love that, but there's another class of people that came along after them that made me realize, whoa, they wrote that, when you get into the whole songwriter side. So I just, the music was always there. I think I started later than most people, and that's just part of my story now, and it's, just thankful it's worked out so far.
Some people know the Luke Bryan story.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. What role has he played in your path?
A big one. I mean, that was, I'd started playing the bars in college in Statesboro. He had already moved to Nashville, had a publishing deal. He may have gotten Good Directions recorded by Billy Currington at this point. He didn't have a record deal yet. And I just met him on the front porch of our fraternity house. He came in for a show with his band that he always played with and changed his strings. He sat down and played a song that he had written, and it just blew my mind. It's a song called Small Town Favorite Son. It's he's got a new documentary out. I think it's in there, but it's unreleased. But that was the song that made me. It was just about a small town football player that ended up having to stay at home and settle down with a girl. It's just an amazing story. And I remember being like, something this guy wrote made me feel like that. And it was just on from then on. I was obsessed with knowing who wrote what. And by the time I moved to Nashville, I was more starstruck by the songwriters than the artists, because I knew that, I'd learned about that, and we wouldn't have the songs without him. But yeah, Luke, we kept in touch. He, I have guys now down in Georgia I send my songs to just to kind of get a gauge of what they think about them, and that was what I was. He'd send me his songs, and I'd play them for everybody at parties, cool. Whatever, and I was just a big fan. And then to, move to Nashville, he needed a merch guy. I was applying to bars, trying to get a job here, and he took me out one weekend to sell T-shirts, and I stayed out there for about 3 years, and that was my first job I had in Nashville, was selling Luke Bryan's T-shirts. And that's, like I said, he gave me a chance, and he knew that's not why I moved to Nashville. And I think that's why some people find my story so crazy, that, the merch guy turned, getting a record deal and all. It's just kind of you do what you got to do. And I just knew I wanted to be around the business. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to write a song good enough. I didn't know if I'd ever get a record deal, but I knew that I had to be around the music, because there was nothing that and still haven't found anything that made me feel like that. So Luke has played a huge part, and I always say, to go from selling somebody's T-shirts to writing a #1 song for him is a crazy thing, and I owe him a lot of credit. So
I think that #1 song. Okay, was your first #1? Give me some of that.
That was, yes.
That was the first one.
That was the first one as a writer. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I thought. So you're selling T-shirts, and next thing you know, TR cuts this song, right? What the hell was that like? First of all, what was it like that he put it on his record?
Yeah.
And said, okay, something you did I like that much. Fellow Georgia boy. Well,
yeah.
I know he's a Tennessee boy.
But he's a
Georgia boy.
Absolutely.
At heart.
And absolutely. I mean, he had been out for a while. He was just taking off, and he was already one of my, favorite people, and a big fan of his music. But to have that, and just the story behind that song, and it being my first #1 as a writer, I was always a huge Rhett Akins fan, and his dad, and so that's the first song me and Rhett ever wrote together.
No way.
So I write, I'm nervous as all get out. I write this song with Rhett Akins and Michael Carter. Somehow, he plays it for Thomas. Thomas hears it, loves it, ends up, puts it on the record. And that's enough, I'm like, wow, this is going to be amazing. I mean, this is life-changing for a writer with not much going on. And then find out it's going to be a single, ends up being the #1, and the fact that it's my first as a songwriter. I mean, you know, I wrote it with his dad. Me and Thomas, our buddies, were touring together coming up this year. So that stories like that only happen, I feel like, in Nashville, and I'm glad to be a part of that one. But you know, it doesn't hurt that TR is not only talented, just one of the best dudes out there. So
what's the writing? So how, when you get to town and you want to write and you get a publishing deal, how do you end up getting in a room with Rhett? How does that whole thing unfold?
Gosh, I mean, the peach pickers, all of them, you know, Ben, Dallas, Rhett, they, you know, them being from Georgia, and I think there's so many talented people, obviously, in Georgia, and so many people that have been before me, after me, and it's, people always ask, what do you think, you know, what do you think that is? And I think it's scenarios like that right there. Those three guys from my state move up here, do something like that. I think it makes you a little bit more believable, even though I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's like, man, they're from right around where I'm from. If they can do it, maybe I can, you know. And I think that is, I've had a lot of that all the way back from Alan Jackson to everybody from the 90s to, you know, the newer artists that have moved after me. It's crazy. But to get in the room with Red, I mean, I don't know. It took a while. They didn't just write with me right off the bat. You know, it took. I'd already gotten off the road from selling T-shirts. I was in town probably 4 or 5 years before I ever got to write with them.
It was that long.
Yeah, I mean, and I looking back now, I'm glad, because I didn't deserve to be in the room with them yet. I think, you know, I knew them and I was friends with them, but you know, this is a business, and you got to have a foot in the door. But to me, I needed to be better when I got that opportunity. You didn't want, you know, your first opportunity and me not be to where I could at least pull my weight in a room like that. And I think the timing, it always works out better than we think. And I'm glad that it took a little while, because I felt like I had gained experience, and I felt like I, you know, belonged to at least be in the room. But you can't ever, I mean, Rhett and all those guys, they've written so many songs. I got a long way to go, man.
What's your process?
Just always thinking. I mean, listening. I mean, you know, you're hearing people. I love when I go back home. I mean, just the conversations and how real everybody is. I mean, you may hear somebody like, man, there's a song in there somewhere, and you learn to write things down right then. You know, you don't say, oh, I'll remember that later, because chances are I won't. You know.
Are you one of these dudes that you're constantly pulling out your notes on your phone?
I mean, I try not to be rude about it, but it's just every now and then, if you're in
anybody
the zone,
who has buddies who's a songwriter, that's just part of the relationship.
You probably got to be. I know you probably say things all the time. You're like, hey, don't put my name on that.
They all. That's what I always do. I'm like, I better see my name on that.
Exactly, because you know when you say something that you're like, I bet you they're writing that down.
They get this glazed over like thing.
But see, I have to. Yeah, I usually, especially if it's somebody in the creative, where you got to just tell them. You know, that's. But that is a way. I mean, I think, for me, ideas start first. Sometimes you have a title. Sometimes you don't have anything, and you just go in and you get the idea from just talking to your buddy you're about to write with. It's just, you never know if you listen, like what's a way you can spin that a little different, or a way you can make that into something that, you know, somebody would want to hear. And that's, to me, whether it's fun, because I like it all. You know, I like the fun stuff. I love the sad stuff, the heartbreak stuff. I mean, that's really why I love country music. But also, I think of my live show when I'm in there too. I mean, I want the songs that are going to get people that have had a hard week and want to party a little bit. So it's kind of a mixture of both for me when I'm writing.
Being the tip of the spear, I mean, you're a CEO of a big time business, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, you were the merch guy.
Yeah.
So you know that, like, you've kind of seen, you were in there when those guys were loading in. You were in there when those guys were loading out.
Yep.
All that stuff, all the way to now. How do you carry that experience with you now?
That's a great point. I mean, I think I have seen it from behind the merch table, just how everything goes. And I credit, you know, my 3 or so years out on the road of why, when my career took off, that it felt like I had almost been there and seen it. I had never done it, but I'd been around, if you ask me, one of the best, and watched the way they treated people and the people that worked for them, and the radio, TV. I mean, whatever it was they were doing, you know, Luke was always, you know, I think he was a good one to kind of come up around. But you know, when I released my first song and things kind of took off, I really don't know if I would have known what hit me unless I'd been out there around it a little bit. And that was another thing. Yeah, I didn't move here to sell T-shirts, but those 3 years out there could have been the reason I didn't lose my mind when everything started off, you know, right when it did. So that, to me, I mean, it's all of it. When you see it from every angle, you realize how important every aspect of the tour is. You can't do it without every single person. You know, there might be a name up there on the sign or on the ticket, but without your crew and everybody, you learn that it takes them all. So, how
did you transition from writer to artist, or from songwriter to singer-songwriter?
Yeah, you know, we talked earlier about I already knew I loved to be on stage and to entertain and do that, but I knew I needed to be a better songwriter, and this is where I wanted to go. And you know, so I got a publishing deal at Sony ATV, was writing songs for a living, and got Get Me Some of That, recorded by Thomas Rhett. Roller Coaster. Yeah, that was the one we were talking about earlier by Luke. This Is How We Roll that Luke and Florida Georgia Line did, and just several more, you know, and I think that got my name out there. And you know, we have what we call demos, which I know you know what those are, where it's just kind of a demonstration of what the song should be like if somebody records it. And I was singing all these, you know, and so when the record label was hearing them, they were finally like, you know, why aren't you, if you're writing all these, why aren't you singing them? And I was like, that's a great question, you know. That's that would work for me. And then, you know, at that point, you know, I started getting some interest from labels, and I realized that it is all about the song in this business. A song can make you, break you, save your career. I mean, it can do a lot of things, and I think it took me realizing that I've got to keep these songs that I think are big songs because I need them. I mean, if I'm going to be serious and do what I came here for, try to get a record deal, I need these songs. And it took, obviously, writing Chillin' It, putting that out. I just knew that that's what I wanted first. But then it took, you know, songs like my second single, Hope You Get Lonely Tonight. I mean, I wrote that with FGL, and Aldean heard it and wanted that song at the time. And I mean, I didn't even have a record deal. And think about if you're Tyler and Bryan, they're probably like, we probably need to give this to Florida Georgia Line. And for Aldean to be cool about it and finally say, all right, you know, I get it. He wrote it. You know, and of course he didn't need that song as much as me, but that's a huge compliment. I mean, Aldean has always been one of my favorites, and to stuff like that, it just takes every little thing and to stick up for your songs and when you need them, you know. So
what are those conversations like? What, like, is Jason calling you going, dude, I want this thing?
You know, that was before we toured together and we kind of got close like we are now. But you know, my manager Carrie Edwards, she kind of took the reins on that one, and you know, I still give her credit this day for fighting for it, because and for everybody involved, it would have been a great thing for Jason and Aldean, but I mean, I might not have had back-to-back singles that did as well if I wouldn't have had that song. And it's just it's a tough part because there are other writers involved, and you have to, you know, I think that it helped that Bryan and Tyler were doing just fine, and wasn't like, but it's every situation's different, man. And that's another thing, talking about coming up through the business. I'm glad that I came up through the songwriting world because, you know, whether I'm recording a song somebody else wrote, like I have respect for the writers, and I want, you know, them to you know, they should get a lot more credit than they already do. But me coming up through the writing world, there's a lot of things that go on recording and the process, and it's just, I think that's helped me in that world too. So
it's just so fascinating to me. And grains of sand. I mean, we go right over here where I'm directionally challenged, but we go over here to Broadway. There's 5,000 people who want to do that.
Yeah,
and are pretty talented. A lot of them.
And that's why I think stuff like that, it just...
Why did you make it?
I mean, that's something that keeps you motivated. You go out downtown and you just look, I mean, everybody, it's like, goodness gracious. You have to know that, how fortunate. Yeah,
everybody, that's what they're here for.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, and I think that is what keeps you driven and humble, is knowing that there's somebody out there on Broadway playing a night better than me right now, and they just hadn't had their break yet. And that is, we all got to have somebody to help us out. And I think that's one thing in our genre, at least, country music, is I think you just help the next in line. And that's, you know, people have done that for me. And that is, honestly, I told that story about getting up with Chesney. I literally thought that because I know what that does for somebody and how much it helps him. And that's, you know, that's something I think this format's good about, is giving back. And like, you know, man, anything we're, you know, just as much about off the stage as on it, and, you know, just being around good people, man. That's what I love. So.
What comes with fame you didn't expect?
Man, comes with fame.
Because it's a lot more than you think it's going to be.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think just, I don't know. You never know. You don't want to be negative, but you really don't know folks' true intentions a lot. It's just, you know, having to see through that kind of stuff. You know, but that, and it's keeps you on the right track with cell phones and all that stuff. So it's just
no doubt.
It's just.
And I'm not trying to put you in a difficult spot by any stretch of imagination, but I know, like, I've been around enough athletes who went from relative obscurity to monster fame, enough artists who've been in relative obscurity to monster fame, to know that it starts to mess with you a little bit.
Yeah.
because you don't know what somebody's intentions are. You don't know if they're in it because, man, I really like Cole as a person, as a human being.
Yep.
I appreciate his talent.
Yep.
But it's hard to know if they're in it for anything other than, man, I want to be in that guy's circle so that I can go get to do the same stuff he's doing, or he'll buy it for me.
Right. Yeah, and that's just part of it. But I think also saying, there's a lot of people looking up to you out there, and it does. I think I need stuff like that to keep you, like, hey man, and it goes back to how fortunate we are to be doing this. There's a lot of people that give anything to be in my shoes. So I think if that helps keep you on the right path, that's fine with me. And plus, it's, you can't have a bad day. It's like you got to always be on, and that's what I see in this side of it. When I see stories now about whether it's athletes or stars that, oh, he wasn't nice or this and that, and it's like you just learn to, you don't ever know what somebody's going through. You don't know what kind of day they're having, and I think being on this side of it, you just definitely show people that same respect. So
absolute truth. You got a lot of we got a lot of mutual buddies. You got a lot of friends in sports. Mm-hmm. I know you're close with Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott and those guys in NASCAR. Buddies with a bunch of the Braves guys, right? So little athlete Cole back there in nowhere, Georgia. If you'd have told that little guy, forget the career part, but just that he could be buddies with folks like that because of what he does, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, what is your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, that's what's crazy about it. I mean, just growing up, being a huge Braves fan and loving NASCAR, just every sport, and to think now, or if you'd have told me that I would have even known any of those people when I grew up, that's the kid in me though, and that's what I don't ever want to lose. I'm not scared to be starstruck, or just when I get to do some of these things I get to do, I get excited because I don't want to ever get used to those kind of things, because it's not everybody. I know how hard I work to get to where I am, but also, when you see people in the sports world or just the entertainment industry that love what you do, and it's just kind of it's mutual, it's like, man, I would have given anything to have been an Atlanta Brave at some point in my life, but I'm glad that I get to do this and still get to go to the games. It's pretty cool.
I distinctly remember, and I did not remember this until right this second when you said that about it being okay to be starstruck. And anytime that comes up, it makes me think of two people that I've met or interviewed.
Tell me.
Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. And when I interviewed Tiger several years ago, I'll never forget, you called me and you were like, holy shit, man, Tiger Woods. And you wanted to know everything. Like, I want to know it all. Give me every detail.
Yes.
That one was different.
But that kind of stuff, just hearing you say that, makes me uneasy. Like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, those are two people that, if I ever got a chance to meet, I don't even know what it would, don't even know what it would say. But that, to get to where you are, to where you're interviewing those kind of people, it says a lot. And that's, to me, you got to enjoy those moments. Those are, bucket list things, and it seems like we get to do more than we deserve sometimes. And that, for me, it's just, man, I want to enjoy them and know that I'd have given anything if you'd have told little me that I was going to get to do that. So.
Well, before we came in here, you were just talking about having the opportunity to play with Toby Keith, and who else?
Clay Walker.
And Clay Walker. Look at the smile. What was it like to get to hang with childhood heroes?
There's nothing like it.
They're characters too. Those two.
I know. I've got to meet. I got to hang with Toby a little bit before the show, but Clay was kind of in and out. But I've met him before too, and got to tell him how much his music has meant to me. And when you're up there and you're hearing all these hits that, you remember, it just takes you back. And a song can put you anywhere you want to be, but some of those songs I hadn't heard in so long. I'm right back in my mom's Jeep Cherokee, like listening to the radio DJ intro the song, and it's, that kind of stuff it will never get old to me, knowing that now, some kids out there listening to us on the radio, and it's just, I don't know. Anytime I get to play a show with people that got me into this business, it's I don't ever take it for granted. So, who
made you starstruck? What artist that you met, you went, my God, I can't believe I'm talking to this person?
Obviously, there's been several. The main one I remember was the first time I met Tim McGraw. It's almost funny.
Put me there, man. What was the situation?
It was probably 2004 14 ACMs, I'm guessing, and back then, if they still do it, they always had like a TV special that they recorded on a Monday night after the Sunday ACMs. So I stayed in town. I wasn't a part of it. I was brand new. I had Chilling It out. That was it. And we're standing backstage, and Tim and Faith are in the hallway, and my manager's in one of the dressing rooms. And it's every artist, everybody's kind of, but Tim and Faith are out in the hall, and I'm like, Carrie, I've never met McGraw. I covered his songs in college. I have to tell him. I was like, tonight's the night. I'm telling him. So I go, I'm like, I'm going to do it right now, actually. So me and my friend Michael Monaco, we're walking down the hall, and he's right here with Faith, getting closer, and I'm like, I'm like, no way I'm doing it. I was like, I'm not interrupting him. And we get about 3 feet from him, and he kind of turns and sticks out his hand and says, hey, Cole, Tim. Knew my name, said, I'm Tim. He's like, I sing your song, Chilling It, picking up my daughters in the school line every day. And Marty, I'm not kidding you. My eyes like watered. I just patted him. I couldn't even speak. I patted him on the shoulder, and it took me I walked off about 20 yards and had to come back and apologize. But it was just one of those moments that caught me off guard, and just remember, don't take the girl coming on the video and me calling
sure,
my buddy,
man.
Hey man, it's on, and like hanging up because the music video was on TV, just stuff like that, and seeing him at a young age in concert to meeting him and him introducing himself when I chickened out and he didn't even know it, before I got there. That was probably one of the most starstruck moments, and he's always been cool to me, and just that's what I love about meeting your heroes, the ones that are that exceed your expectations, and Tim is as cool as it gets.
All right, I'm going to just real quick. I've kept you too long.
No, you're fine, brother.
I got to tell you the Michael Jordan story.
Please, God.
So he's
yes.
God to me, okay?
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
So ESPN back in 2013 sent reporting teams to every single game on opening night of the NBA season because we were bidding for the 2014, the current NBA contract.
Yeah.
And they sent me to the Hornets-Bucks at the Hive in Charlotte. First game back is the Hornets. We aren't the Bobcats anymore. Yeah. That era is flushed forever, thank God. And the city's buzzing. I mean, it's just awesome night. We win it 104 to 103. Kemba Walker hits a 40-footer to win it. City's lit. So after the game, I interviewed one of the Bucks players his name was Jabari Parker. Do you remember Jabari? Mm-hmm. Went to Duke, never lost any games in his whole life. And he's like, his dog died. I'm like, Jabari, listen, bud. You play for the Bucks, who are in the NBA Finals now.
Yeah, exactly.
Ironically. I'm like, man, you play for the Bucks, dude. You're going to lose a lot. Just don't let this ruin your life.
Yeah.
Get done with him, go out in the hallway. We're waiting on the Hornets locker room to open. I'm in my phone. I'm texting Laney, hey, where do you want me to get us dinner on the way home? I'll be out of here in 20 minutes. I got to interview a couple of Hornets players. I'll be gone. Air completely changes in the tone. I mean, as I'm in my phone, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. You can just feel this presence. Next thing you know, there's this hand coming at me. And I'm looking up the hand all the way to the face, and it's Michael freaking Jordan. And Michael Jordan says to me, hey, Marty, it's awesome you're here tonight. We appreciate so much you taking the time to come out and cover this team. Thank you. Means a lot to me and a lot to the organization. I was so starstruck, dude. All I could do was go, thanks, MJ.
Yeah.
Like a complete dipshit buffoon.
But it's all right to be a dipshit in that moment. I honestly wouldn't be, I don't know what I'd say. I'd black out just I'd do that
if clown show.
Dude, but that's awesome. And by the way, you've sent me and my guitar player, Joel, he rocks Jordans on the stage every night. So you've sent us a few pairs, so thank you for that.
Well, you've done so many amazing things to me, and I'll tell that story real quick. I had a buddy who was paralyzed 20 years ago. He needed a wheelchair that would allow him to go on the beach. And in order to, I just walked in the other room and said to Laney, we're buying this thing. It's like buying a car, just trust me. I feel led to do it. It's the right thing. It's on my heart. So, y'all, I call people listening. Laney says to me, we should do some kind of experience where we can help offset this cost. And I saw that Cole and Luke were coming to Charlotte couple weeks later. I pick up the phone and call you. I said, I need some help. I don't want your money. I need a little bit of your time, which I know is even more precious than your money, but I need it.
That's what you said, though, yeah.
Neither, you guys didn't even, but both of you were like, whatever you need. How many tickets? How much time? Do they need this? Drinks? What do they need? And we raised so much money. more than half of that wheelchair got bought because of you guys being kind enough to give us your time with not a moment's notice.
Yeah,
and I'll never forget it. And it changed his life. He lives in Myrtle Beach. He doesn't have to ride up on this pier and watch his kids play. He can be on the beach and play with his kids. That is life changing.
Yeah, and to get to see him using it, the video. I mean, that just absolutely, man. I still see things about it on social media, and just people. It's like new people find it every day, and that's the most inspiring thing. And that's why when you asked me to be here, man, it's an honor. Obviously, I've been a fan for a long time. You get to do a lot of the things I wish, you know what I mean? You're around a lot of the things I wish I was at. So you come out to concerts. We've spent St. Louis with Eric Church a couple nights.
That was a good
fun.
time, man.
We got to get
time.
back to it. So it's always good to see you there, man. I'm willing to help, and I know I've seen all the good you do. So I'm in anytime. Just call me.
So thank you. I know one more thing. We got Single Saturday Night out now. I know you're about to go on tour with Tia. Give us a look ahead here. Look in the crystal ball and take us there with you. What's coming up?
Yeah, finally this Thomas Rhett tour, the Centerpoint Road Tour, is finally kicking off August 20th, and until then we're kind of doing some festivals in between now and then. We got rehearsals coming up just to get the show right. We hadn't had a chance to change a whole lot because we hadn't been around each other, so that's going to be fun. In the middle of finishing up the brand new album. I don't have a date or any exact time when that's coming out, but we'll have something brand new after Single Saturday Night peaks, and I'm just ready for everybody to hear the new music, man, and most of all to see everybody in the crowd. So if that TR tour is coming anywhere near y'all, come out. It's gonna be fun. So hopefully when we're in North Carolina, we've got several shows. If you're around, you'll have to bring Laney. Y'all come on out anytime.
College football season on the weekends is a little busy for me.
You're right. You're definitely not coming to that one.
Hey, I love you.
Hey, I love you, buddy.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing this on behalf of everybody at Outsider.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to be our very first guest.
Thanks for
in Outsider Studios.
Thank you, brother.
Now let's go get a cold beer.
Let's do it.
I told y'all it was great. As I said to Cole there during our conversation, the power of vulnerability resonates globally. And Cole's vulnerability, not only in his writing and in his work, but in his personal life, with sharing so much of himself, has impacted so many millions of people, certainly including me. I love to get to spend time with him. I love to learn his path and just get to fellowship with him. What a wonderful time. We appreciate you guys checking out the Marty Smith Podcast here at Outsider Media. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Tell all your buddies about it. We're building something special here. Have a great one, everybody.